Final Fantasy VII R fanboys are redefining what a remake is in order to push this narrative that Final Fantasy VII Remake is in fact a remake and not a reboot sequel. What it actually is. There is no denying at this point that Final Fantasy VII R is not a remake. It is a completely new thing, and yet the Final Fantasy fanboys are denying this fact aggressively. It's kind of interesting. It's getting to the point where these people are outright denying that actual remakes, Star Fox 64 3D, Ocarina of Time 3D, The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, that those aren't remakes because they're just the same game with a new coat of paint. Final Fantasy VII R Remake vastly expands the original release and does completely new and different things with the world and the story and the characters and the gameplay. It's what a remake should be. No. That's a reboot. Like, it is so radically different than the original game and deliberately refers to itself as a sequel in several key points that it can't in any serious notion be considered a proper remake. It is clearly something else. Like, I suppose you could debate what else it could be, but it certainly isn't a remake. And you can sort of see this in like the interviews where like, where Square is just like, it's not a remake means that it's we're doing something completely new and fresh with this game. They didn't give people what they wanted. Like, I don't understand why people are so in denial about this, or were in denial about this. Final Fantasy VII R is at that point now where it's people aren't really talking about it anymore. Just like Doom Eternal. I don't know why people are refusing to acknowledge that they got completely demolished. Like, refuse to admit that Square Enix completely fleeced them in the worst possible way. The worst way I think I've ever seen a beloved gaming franchise be handled. Like, it's bizarre how much, like, the core Final Fantasy VII fan base will just continue to lap up shit no matter how bad it gets. Like, the constant retcons, the spin-off material, the terrible sequels, the movies, and now this. Like, how much of this can you take before you realize that, like, yeah, maybe Squaresoft should have stayed with Nintendo. Maybe going with PlayStation wasn't a good idea. Like, why are you still on your high horse about a game that came out in 97? That would be like if I said that Nintendo was the best because Ocarina of Time came out for N64 in 98. Like, no, there have been other games since then. It's just that I like just as much, if not more. You know what I mean? It really just goes to show you that I think Final Fantasy VII fans are in love with the brand and like the nostalgia more than they are with the actual game. You know what I mean? Like, they're more invested in like, Square Enix doing well, and so I can dab on those PlayStation, on those dirty Nintendo fanboys. Like, it's about fanboyism. It's about being part of a group. It's being part of this circle, this community. It's not about actually playing the video game. Otherwise, these people would be way more angry about what this game has done with the gameplay and the characters. Like, it's weird seeing someone like me who's not that big of a Final Fantasy VII fan. Well, comparatively speaking, like, I haven't been playing this game since it first came out or anything like that. Someone like me, right, who's not as familiar with the game as I am with some others, watching this footage and noticing everything wrong with it, while people who promote themselves as hardcore fans, like, ignore or write it off or justify it. You know, like the whispers, the plot element changes, the pacing issues, the plot, like, the terrible ending. like it's baffling how like I can point out things like, ooh, they really fucked up how Cloud's backstory here and how well it was executed in the original game, and seeing people like damage control that, like, no, you don't understand. Square is trying to do something completely different. Well, yeah, they're trying to do something completely different because they don't know what they're doing. I don't understand why people are so vehemently were so vehemently defending this this remake for what it did. This remake for what it did. Yeah, I was trying to sound sarcastic, but I guess I need these air quotes for the remake. Remake. Man, I really need to emphasize that this is not a remake. It's unbelievable. Right. So Square is done, man. Like they can't keep doing this. They can't seriously expect to keep people's interest with this not a remake, especially now that they're past the point that everybody knows. Now that they're getting to like some of the more unpopular parts of Final Fantasy VII, like the padded parts, the open world, like they literally do not know. They literally do not know how they're going to handle the open world. Like, they have given interviews about this, and holy shit, they haven't even really seriously begun development on Part 2 yet, have they? Like, the conspiracy theory that Angry Joe put out there, like, they're going to have Part 2 in 2 years. Not gonna happen. And when it does come out, five years from now, like, it's not gonna be worth it. You know what I mean? Like, are these people going to, like, reflect and wonder, like, yeah, maybe, did I give this game too much praise? No! They're just going to, like, damage control it forever because that's what they do. That's who they are. It's pathetic. It is downright pathetic. They need to be held accountable for their actions.